Hello everyone and welcome to the next episode of Art Side of Life, where I chat with inspiring artists 5 days a week. My name is Eva and my guest today is Devin Elle Kurtz, also known as Tamberella. You will learn how to start your art career from scratch and what to focus on at the beginning.
If you're not good enough yet, art-wise, to make living wages, then you should be focusing all your energy on getting better and not on trying to make money this way. Like, I would even recommend getting a different job and just focusing all your free time on getting better until you can make real living wages.
Devin started her professional freelance illustrator career when she was only 15 years old. She creates stunning animals, creatures, and natural environment work. She loves to tutor and teach other artists, as well as you can learn from her during private consultations or from her tutorials on Patreon and Gumroad. Last year, she started working as a background designer for Rough Draft Studios in Burbank, who do art and animation for Futurama, and also the newest project by Matt Groening and Netflix called Disenchantment. So please welcome Devin Elle Kurtz, and let's get to the interview. Welcome everyone to the next episode of Art Side of Life, and I'm super happy to have Devin here. Hi, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. I'm super happy that you took time from your busy schedule and joined us here to inspire more people with your amazing artwork and your artistic story. And let's start directly with your maybe first experience, what you had with art, and how did you get to art and like your first creative outlets?
All right. Well, I definitely drew like my entire life. I was in kind of like a lucky, unique situation where when I was 2 years old, my mom went back to school for graphic design. She went to college. She to learn graphic design, and so she had a really early tablet, early Photoshop, and instead of giving me coloring books when I was bored, she would sit me down with her tablet in Photoshop and Painter. So I remember being like a toddler and playing around in Photoshop. So I was kind of lucky in that way because I just grew up with it. And as I got older, I got really interested in digital art in general. It was just, like becoming a thing. Like there were all kinds of chat websites and drawing rooms and more and more websites were popping up where you could post your art, and I was getting really involved with that. I really loved it. And when I was 11 or 12, I started doing, I did pencil sketching all the way through this as well. And when I was about that age, in middle school, I discovered that people would pay money for drawings, particularly drawings of their pets. Like even like parents of like kids from my school and random people in my life who were older who had money. They were like, oh wow, I want a drawing of my cat or my dog. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Real money. What a concept. And it pretty much just took off from there. As soon as I got this idea in my head that you could art could be exchanged for money, then I got really interested in it, and I started researching like all the ways that I could be a professional artist. I got really into the idea of working in animation. I was obsessed with Disney movies and also DreamWorks movies like Prince of Egypt and Spirit. Yeah. And I was researching like all the time, all the different careers that I could have, all the different people who are doing what I wanted to do. I loved the art of books for all those movies. And I pretty much just, from then, I just continued to take commissions, and that eventually, as I like grew online, it kind of transformed into freelance work. When I was still pretty young, like 15 or 16 years old, wow. I started doing freelance stuff for like game studios, a lot of children's websites, apps as phone apps started emerging. And I'm 20 now, and I just some months ago, I started working in-house with an animation studio. But up until then, it's been just freelance But yeah, it was kind of just a smooth transition. Yeah, over the
Wow.
years.
But it's amazing that you started so early and then you can just experiment with the different aspects of artistic life. Like, do I want to be freelance or do I want to be in a studio? And so what made you actually like decide you want to be in a studio?
I really wanted to experience kind of the collaborative environment. And to kind of like be in the same room at the same time with the people who I was working with, because I've worked a lot with other people on projects before, but it's always been so distant. Like the closest that will come to communicating will be, like being in a hangout online, while we're working. And there's definitely like a delay of feedback, like when you are working and you really want to hear what the art director thinks, but they're across the country, so, or in another country. So I really wanted to have that kind of like live feedback and that environment with people around me and just kind of experience that and see how I felt about it. Because I really love kind of the collaborative nature of art and I wanted to experience that in full.
Yeah, yeah. Because when you were working before as a freelancer, you were fully supporting yourself already, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Awesome.
I left home, left my parents' home when I was 17. I went to art school for 1 year in Southern California at Laguna College of Art and Design, and it did not end up being for me, so I left.
Yeah.
And just freelanced, and did take some classes at Concept Design Academy in Pasadena, which I like super recommend. It's just it's a non-accredited school, so it's not like you apply or anything. I would just take like one class at a time when I wanted to learn something, and I still intend to do that. But yeah.
And
Yeah.
how did you approach learning, when you were like, okay, now I want to learn like how to draw pets when you started, right? And it's like, okay, now I want to improve my light, or did you continue with what you are strong with, or did you try to level up everything?
I definitely would like dedicate time to learning things. Once I realized, I think that art could be a real career, which I was pretty young when I realized that, but it wasn't something that people, talk about that much. It was like this dawning realization, like, oh my gosh, I can do this. But then I was like, wait, I see it really good. Like, it's going to be really hard to do this. I remember like when I was quite young, when I was trying to figure out how to draw different Disney characters, I wanted to draw them just like they were in the movies. I would just sit down and I would get screenshots of the movie and I would just draw the character over and over and over again, just all the different facial expressions and try to get everything in the right spots, like all the eyes. And then as soon as I was done with that, I would try to come up with my own expressions and still have it make it look the same. And like years later, I'm like, wow, that's an exercise. Like,
It's a good exercise.
That was good that just came together randomly. But I would do stuff like that. And my mom would come into my room at like 2 a.m. and would be like, hey, you need to be asleep and not doing this. Like, turn the light out. You have school tomorrow. But I was like obsessive. I feel like a lot of us who drew from when we were young, we had that period of time when we were just like crazy obsessive with just drawing and painting and everything, and just like we desperately wanted to be better,
Yeah.
And I definitely I went through that, like, for sure, and I think that helped me a lot. But I had very supportive parents, luckily, who gave up on being like, your computer time is up, because I would just be sitting on Photoshop and they're probably like, okay,
no.
go ahead, have your screen time. They were trying to be those like nice hippie parents who were like, screens are bad, but it didn't end up working out so well with me. But they ended up being really supportive. My dad's a photographer, my mom's a graphic designer, so they were supportive, but they're also like, yeah, you do need to study. You need books. You have this money now that you're making. You need to reinvest that in your career. You're building your business. They emphasize that from a young age. Like, if you're going to be self-supporting and be an artist and you want to do this, then you need to build your business. You need to build a following. You need to build like a foundational base. You need to learn the basics of everything. My dad would employ me to do retouching for him in Photoshop,
Yes.
which was great because I really learned a lot of the tools of Photoshop. My mom would, from a young age, taught me a lot of graphic design skills, like things she was learning about color, and I learned how to do some like basic web editing stuff too. So I was able to like get my website going, build my online business essentially, and they were very helpful with that. And I think that really helped me study, it helped me give me a good like foundational base and support system to like get the resources I needed, buy books, buy tutorials and stuff, and they gave me like that sense of dedication, like I need to reinvest my money in things that will help me, which was good because I don't know if I naturally would have done that without that sort of guidance. So
Just looking at it as a business when you just enjoy drawing and how to build this, right? And you started with DeviantArt, right? And then you move on to other platforms.
Yeah, I was on DeviantArt from a young age, like before you're allowed to be on DeviantArt, so maybe I won't say. I'm sure they don't care at this point. But yeah, when I was really young, I started on DeviantArt, and then, all these other platforms came about pretty much after that. But DeviantArt's been the base I jumped off of for everything. Thank you, DeviantArt.
So what is your now go-to platform you spend the most time?
Probably Instagram, just because it's so easy to like open it up and just like scroll through your feed and see all kinds of art. And I like compulsively open that app all the time, working on that. But
just like,
yeah, probably Instagram.
And do you have maybe some tips for people that are just starting out, maybe how to do either networking or how to get yourself noticed?
Yes. I think that with the way that Instagram and a lot of social media are today, there's a huge amount of people trying to become known. Yeah. So it's almost like you have to kind of take advantage of that and work with the people around you, because most of the algorithms are based on the more feedback you get, the more interaction, the more people interact with your posts, the higher they go on people's feeds. So that's actually kind of an important aspect. So if you can find a bunch of people who are in the same place as you, both art-wise and maybe community-wise, and work together, all comment on each other's stuff, give each other, constructive feedback, like each other's posts, and just kind of try to propel each other higher. I think that's one of the best ways, creating like cooperative groups, trying to get people's posts seen, featuring each other, that sort of thing. Because then you have the opportunity to all reach more eyes at the same time and help each other. And you'll also develop, really great friendships that will help you out in the future.
Definitely, yeah, because I mean, just to engage with others, and you get actually also good feedback and just make new friends as well. So it's kind of all in all.
Win-win, right?
And do you also go for some like sketch club events or something in your area?
I try to. I love to do stuff like that. I love to go to events and stuff. My life is pretty hectic right now, so I haven't had the time to for a couple months now, for like half a year, which is really sad. And I want to again. There's like the Weekend Warriors in LA who go and do plein air painting, and I have a lot of friends who do that, and I want to. But sadly, right now, no. But I love to in the future. Yes.
And can you mention maybe also some conventions people should, like visit, which are good?
Oh, sure. Well, I do a lot of conventions in the area because I sell prints at conventions. That's like one of my businesses, I guess. So I do like all the ones in the LA area and even some up the coast, just California ones for now. I would say WonderCon is really great. LA Comic-Con is another really good one. I really like those two for kind of comic conventions. If you do like anime stuff, then Anime Expo can be good. It's really huge though, so I don't know if I would recommend that to someone who like maybe hasn't been to a convention before. Let's see. I do a lot of little ones too, which I like the little ones because they're kind of more personal. But I did the Long Beach shows recently. There's a smaller show called Anime LA, which is actually not in Los Angeles. It's in it's like east. It's like 40 minutes east.
Okay, confusing name.
Yeah, it used to be in LA.
Oh, okay.
But those are the main ones I guess I would recommend in this area.
Yeah. So that's one part of your income as well, to sell prints. And what are the other ones, if you can mention? We talked about your tutorials a bit, or how do you build your income streams?
All right. So yeah. So before I worked in-house in a studio, obviously that's one of my main income sources
Yeah.
now. Before then, it was a lot of random freelance gigs. When you're a freelancer, you hop around projects a lot. So there's that whole like section.
Yeah.
And then my Patreon and Gumroad, which even though they're two separate things, I kind of lump them together because they're the same resources. I just take my Patreon resources and then I put them on Gumroad and sell them there too. And those two have been one of my big income streams, which is all my tutorials and resources. I'm very into making art resources available for everybody and not just rich people and people who are willing to go into a lot of debt. So I have been working on those for almost 2 years now. That's been one of my big income sources. And then conventions, like we talked about. Online print sales, I guess, would be another one. Some like speaking at events and that sort of thing, which I would say is not so much like, that's more of like the public relations side of being an artist, more like the public figure side of being an artist is another smaller, but still, I guess, mentionable stream of income. Yeah, I think those are the main ones. Yeah.
And what do you think, like when someone is just starting out and you don't have the network yet, and just to find new projects and new paid projects or figure out like the pricing and all of that, that's another beast. But what would you advise someone who doesn't have the artistic community around, or maybe they didn't start it like super young and you know, do you have maybe some experience in that or advice like how to approach it, how to start it?
Yes. Well, I have done yes and no. I've done a lot of tutoring. I've tutored a lot of young artists. I recently had to stop doing that because of time stuff, but I did that for quite a while, over a year, and that's a big question that I've got. So I've worked with a lot of people trying to get that going. I think that like the main two things. I don't want to say this in a way that sounds discouraging, but it can be really difficult to get going. I think the two main things that I like encourage my students to think about always is think about long term, because it's not going to be something that comes together unless you're really, really lucky. It's probably not going to come together for you like this month or maybe next month or probably not even the month after that. But thinking like a year ahead, like how can I budget myself and plan my future so that I can get things going and just kind of ramp them up slowly. Because I think if you're working online and you're trying to base your business online, the first mission is going to be to get known. Because if you get known, then the jobs are going to start coming to you. There are different ways to do that. You can apply for, different things. If you see a project has a spot open, you can apply for that. And if you're really good, then you might get it. So you kind of have two options. You can be really good, or you can work really hard to market yourself. And you kind of have to find that balance. Like there are some people who are really bad at marketing themselves, and they don't not bad like they suck at it, just that that's not something they put effort into. They don't need to, because they're so good that the jobs just come to them. Then there are also people who are really good and they've not gotten lucky, so they haven't been noticed because they haven't put that kind of effort into marketing. And then there are some people who they're maybe not the best artist in the world. They're good, they've got talent, but their true talent, I would say, that I'm very impressed by is their marketing skills. There are some artists who are just ridiculously good at marketing themselves. Like they are so good at it, and I truly admire them, and I try to see what they're doing so that I can give students similar advice, because they know what they're doing. There's a great podcast, another art podcast, you might know about it, called One Fantastic Week. That I think is a really good resource for people who are trying to figure out how to market themselves, because that's I think their main focus is trying to figure out how artists market themselves. But yeah, you either got to focus on getting really good or focus on marketing, or ideally focus on both. Because if you can be really good really friendly and really marketable, then you're gonna get known. You know, if you can get those three things. But the truth is, you only actually need two of them. Like, you don't need all three. If you can be really good, really friendly, and really good at marketing, you're good. You're golden. But if you can just be really friendly and really good at marketing, you're also going to be okay. And if you can be really friendly and really good, but maybe you're not the best at marketing, you're probably going to be okay too. So like, that's good news.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I heard also this theory before that's actually totally true. Like, if you can keep the deadlines and talk to clients and you are good, that's good. Or like keeping deadlines and doing the marketing yourself. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And can you maybe mention some one tip from the marketing, what you heard or what you saw around, if you remember something?
Sure. Yeah. So if you're just getting going and you're trying to price yourself, like let's talk about that for a second. Look at people in the industry and try to find people who are doing art that you think is about the same level as you. See the volume of commissions that they're doing and their pricing. Like, you know, pretty much make a spreadsheet out of it. Even talk to them if you have the opportunity to, and just pretty much try to come up with an average. You know, you want to be working for living wages at all times. This isn't always possible, but the advice I give is that if you're not good enough yet, art-wise, to make living wages, then you should be focusing all your energy on getting better and not on trying to make money this way. Like, I would even recommend getting a different job and just focusing all your free time on getting better until you can make real living wages, because it makes me really sad to see people who are making non-living wages. So find artists who are about the same level as you, find their prices, make a real spreadsheet, like get all the numbers, talk to some of them, and then pretty much just come up with an average, like what works for you. If you want to get a little bit more work than they're getting, maybe lower it a little bit. If you want to get less work but make a little more money, raise the prices a little bit. And that's how you kind of find your sweet spot. And then you can just, raise those prices over time.
Oh, perfect. That's really good advice, because then a lot of people are just struggling exactly with this when you are just starting out, like, how do I price myself? And what do I do basically? Because if you have like not such a high demand, then you are not sure if you are good enough and all of these problems.
It can be hard.
Yeah, definitely. And what about a topic what you drew or something? What is your experience when you started out or just over time? Did you have a passion with drawing animals from the beginning and then just seeing that people want their pet to be drawn? Or so what was kind of like the balance of what people want and what you have the passion in?
I think that I really love drawing and painting animals. It's really fun for me. I love learning the anatomy, and I really wanted to do scientific illustration for a long time, and really just draw anatomy and stuff like that. The truth is that there aren't that many jobs in this. There are some, and I definitely a portion of my freelance work was animal related, but it was honestly more like 30%. I've always had more work that was not necessarily creature art and animal related, because I don't do so much of the creature design. I would do some for games and stuff, and that's mainly the work I would get those animal related. Truthfully, a lot of the freelance that I've done is not something that I've really posted because my following online is very dedicated. They I know what they want to see, and it's not necessarily all of this freelance stuff that I do. So I'll put that on my website or keep it separate once the NDA is up. Because I kind of feel like I have, especially now that I'm doing the tutorials, I kind of have a brand, like a thing going with the animal art, and that's kind of my focus with the following that I've built there. But there's not always a ton of work in that. The work I do in-house is totally completely different from that, and I've had to build my other skills at the same time, mainly environment design, other more typical concept design stuff. But I do really love animal drawing and painting, and it's still a huge passion of mine, which is why a lot of my resources are in that area.
So you were keeping the social networks or the Instagram with one consistency, just that the animals, so either light on the animal or fur or different animal poses, sketches, and the other work is on the website. I have posted some things that are not
super on brand or whatever, on brand, whatever you want to call it. But for the most part, I try to I have enough volume of work to keep that going. So, I may as well keep it in the same general sphere of relation. If I'm posting that and then I have like pencil sketches of cathedral designs, like, people aren't necessarily going to want to see it. Maybe some people will, but the majority of people who like came to see like cool lions hunting stuff and like creature designs are not going to necessarily want to see like complicated geometric like pencil designs for cathedrals for a video game,
Definitely, that's a bit different. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And actually, when you were mentioning the commissions, I also wanted to ask, did you charge per hour or per project?
It definitely varied. I was honestly pretty loose with that. It really was like what was needed at the moment.
Or what is better, do you think?
Man, it's kind of hard to say that as well. It really, you kind of have to get a feel for what works for you. Because I'm someone who hops around a lot. I like to work on a lot of different projects at once, even in the same day. And I also like to watch Netflix and do other things while I work while I'm freelancing. So that sort of a lifestyle doesn't necessarily lend itself to doing everything hourly, because it's a lot to keep track of. If you stop, take a lot of breaks and like move around a lot. That said, I still did charge hourly for a lot of things, but it was how much I knew it took in the end. You know what I mean? Because I had a really good feeling for how long different things were going to take me. And that ended up working well. As long as, if you're doing a flat rate, as long as you know how long something's going to take you, it's pretty much the same thing. In the end, it's pretty much the same thing. If you're freelancing, definitely, if you realize something's going to take longer than you initially thought, and you're not working for a bunch of assholes, then tell them. And most of the time, if it's a bigger company, they're going to work with you. They want it to be good. They want it to be the best work that it can be. So whether it's flat rate or hourly, making sure you get the compensation that you're worth is like the main thing.
Yeah. It's really good, because also just when you talked about the commissions, like on the social media, but also maybe pricing with the companies to see maybe what is the average salary in your country or in your area, so you can kind of break it down and see what you can ask, in your level, right? That's how you would kind of estimate it, maybe. Yeah,
I think by the time you are, how do I phrase this? Most young artists start with more individual one-off commissions than bigger freelance projects. And I found that most of my students these days, by the time they're getting into the bigger freelance projects, they have their feet in the water pretty well. They kind of have a feeling for what they're making, what the industry is like, especially because I'm always encouraging them to do as much research as they can, to be asking as many people as they can about, what are we making? How are we doing as an industry? How can we do better? How can we support our up and coming artists?
Definitely. And also when you said about how you work daily, how do you design your day? Do you have daily rituals you do, or something which contributes to your success?
Yeah, I think so. For a long time, I've always done warm-ups, which, my Instagram is full of them, and half of the things on my Instagram are warm-ups, which are great because it gives you lots of Instagram fodder. But I'd say that was a big thing, just taking an hour before jumping into any bigger project to do a painting, some sort of warm-up painting, get the energy flowing. And that helps you have something that you've done, something that you've accomplished every single day. Because especially if you're working on a bigger project, something that's maybe going to take a few weeks, having then at the end of those, 2 weeks, 10 warm-up paintings and that big painting is a great feeling. Wow, look at all this art that I've done and all these things I've explored. So that I think has been really great. These days, as I'm working in-house, I've been designing my day definitely differently than when I was doing freelance. I was a lot more kind of go with the flow and looser when I was doing freelance, but now I have to be really structured to get everything done because I have so many different things in the fire right now. I have so many different things going. So I get up at 6 or 6:30 in the morning, and I work on freelance stuff or Patreon stuff or convention things for 3 hours. And then I go to work and I'm there for about 9 hours because I take a lunch break in the middle. And then when I get home, I usually will have that be like my studying time, which is, it's kind of too much right now. Like, I'm not recommending that anyone does this. Like, that is too many hours of art per day, and I'm going to get wrist problems if I keep this up. It's not going to be forever. No, I mean, I do my exercises. Don't worry, guys. I do my wrist exercises, but it's still a little bit too much. But I've been taking a class right now while I'm working, doing Patreon. I have freelance projects going still that I'm winding down, which I won't be doing freelance anymore while I'm working because I'm doing Patreon and also conventions. I won't be taking any more classes for the foreseeable future. So this week, I'm looking at my calendar right now. This week that I'm going to be going through is kind of going to be the last super intense week, I think, crossing my fingers. And then I'm going to have a little more free time. But that's my day, like, right now, which is busy, but you get a lot of art done.
And so what do you do for, like, resting or recharging? Like, was it watching the Netflix, or do you do also some sports or meditation or something like that?
I have a little dog. I have a little Shiba Inu, and we love to, like, go hiking with her, me and my boyfriend. So that is a really good, like, way to relax, or take her to the beach or to the dog park or pretty much anywhere, because it's a lot of fun to watch her run and do stuff. And I actually have been getting really into photography too. So I like to go out and take photos. I got a photography drone recently, so I like to take that out and take some cool aerial shots of different areas, and those tie in really well with hiking and going to the beach. And so, yeah, just like being out in nature, and sometimes I'll take my sketchbook and like do some sketching out there too.
Ah, perfect. Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And do you have like some resources you can recommend about like the learning, like either books or documentaries or other online resources maybe?
Yes, definitely. Well, I love art books, which is all of that, or at least a portion of it. Definitely Schoolism is a really good one. I would totally recommend that anyone who wants to learn stuff goes to Schoolism. You don't need to take like the feedback classes, which are like, I think like $1,000, but they have like a subscription where you can just watch all the videos. And honestly, like anyone who wants to make this their career, I would recommend just going and watching all of them, because it's comparatively like such little money for the quality of information that you're getting. Because they're the same quality of information that you'll get at a art school that costs, $200,000 for education.
Yeah.
So that is a really good one. CGMA is also a really good one. That's another online school. It's the CG Master Academy, and they have a 2D section and a 3D section. It's another really good one. Art podcasts like this, like One Fantastic Week, like Bobby Chu, Level Up, all of them. Just have them playing while you're working. Really good. You get so much information from other artists who are in the industry. As far as books go, I have some favorites. For color, James Gurney, his Color and Light and Imaginative Realism, which are very well known, but they're just like amazing resources. For figure drawing, actually, one of my recent favorites has been Nathan Fox's figure in charcoal or portrait in charcoal book, which came out recently. Really good. Probably one of the best resources for like drawing and painting humans. Even if you're not doing it in charcoal, that's like not necessary. It just gives you so much information about how to like simplify the human face, which is a pretty important aspect these days for a lot of jobs out there. I'm like looking back here. The How to Draw and How to Render books by Scott Robertson are super full of information. Those are they can be a little bit tedious to get through, but very worthwhile. So yeah, I'll stop there because I could keep going.
Yeah, there are just so many, right?
Those are some, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have the Nathan Fox book yet because I did also his courses about the environment and color and light through schoolism as well. They were super nice, so now I'm like excited to get his book as well.
Yeah, no, his book is fantastic. If you like his way of teaching, then like you'll like I want like a schoolism course on this subject so bad now.
But maybe he is working on it already because they mentioned that they are working on the new courses with already existing teachers, so it
I
might be
hope so.
happening. Perfect. And is there also something like going back to your art career, like a difficult time or the worst moment of your art career? And if so, what you learned from it or kind of like a takeaway?
Hmm. I've had a lot of panic moments before, and I will call like those are moments where I realize that I have too many things in the fire. I'm spinning too many plates at once, and there aren't enough hours in the day to get done all of the things. And I've had a lot of these because this is kind of what I do to myself. I take on way too much at once, and it's something that I've had to work on through the years. Like it's been a major problem where I overestimate how much I can handle, and it's mainly situations where I give myself no wiggle room. Like I could get everything done if nothing else happened in my life, but then of course that's when the dog gets sick, and
Yeah.
that's when I get sick. I have a chronic illness actually, so it's like super bad for me to do this because high stress situations can like land me in the hospital, which it's really hard to get
It's not
myself in
good
that
at all.
situation. Not a great combination. But I have, and every single time that that's happened, everything's been okay.
Okay.
Which is just like, I've actually never had a moment where it's like destroyed me in the end. I've still managed to get through it every single time. It's mainly been telling people, hey, this is what's going on. I'm not going to be able to make this deadline, but doing it enough in advance that it's not last minute, like figuring out how to, you know, how to navigate that. What things can I let go? That's been a really important skill that I've had to learn. Like I've had to let some things go. Sometimes it's been a class, like I've been taking a class and then I realize I cannot make my work requirements and my school requirements at the same time. So gonna have to let that go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've actually I am someone who is prone to thinking everything is fine and then breaking down and having a panic attack like a final moment and realizing, wow, everything's not okay. There's way too much going on. But despite that, I cannot think of a single moment where it has like really like screwed me over or anything, which is good, I
It's
think. Like
good.
I think that that's a little bit comforting. Like now when it happens, I'm like, okay, I've gotten through every single one of these so far. Good track record. It's probably going to be okay.
So you learn how to prioritize and like put like maybe value to the projects, how important or like the deadlines and everything what is like urgent and important at the same time and all of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And when you're doing so many projects, what is kind of going on in your head where you want to decide like, okay, I cannot like take this one or when to say no?
I think that initially, when I was first starting out doing a lot, especially when I first left, like 2.5, 3 years ago, when I first left uh, real art school to be a freelancer, I was like, man, I better take everything because I'm not doing school now. I have all this time. And so I did. I took like everything for a little while. And then I was like, okay, let's slow down for a moment. I cannot breathe. This needs to change. So I think that on it, like for me, it's been a lot more based on what projects will I enjoy than which will be the most like monetarily beneficial. Because I would rather do more projects that I enjoy than less that the ones that than a few that I enjoy less but that pay better, if that makes sense. Uh, because I mean, obviously, you know, you always want to be compensated well. I'm not saying that I would ever not like
Of
like
course.
undercut the industry or anything, but I if I find myself on a project that I'm really not enjoying, I just like super regret it later. So I would always take ones that I like really felt passion for, like really connected with the people I was working with, or like the subject matter, or like what I was doing, or maybe not even necessarily like what I was drawing, but like the meaning behind it, or just like some aspect, just making sure I like connected with it and was really motivated to do it. Yeah.
Ah, good,
But I think
good.
that is a luxury. Like, I do want to say that that is like kind of a luxury. And I am really lucky to have the chance to do
Mhm.
that, to make those kind of decisions. And I definitely realize that. Like, I'm in a privileged position to be able to do that.
Yeah, yeah, but it came also over time, right? It wasn't like that at
Mhm.
the beginning, so that's
Yes,
it makes
absolutely.
sense as well. And what about some projects you are working on now, or something which is coming up in the future? What you can share, maybe which is not confidential?
Yeah. So I am working on the the next project by Rough Draft Studios, which there's a press release out. If anyone who is watching just wants to Google like Netflix Matt Groening project,
Mhm.
then it will come up. I don't want to say anything more than that, but I'm very excited. Like so excited for this project, and they'll release more information over time if people want to keep tabs on it. But yeah, no, it's like really fun to be working on this project, and especially to be one of like the few people who's working on it right now, because we're like a really small passionate team. So that's pretty cool, but that won't be I won't be able to say much more for like a long time on that, for like a while. So just
So it will be more
keeping.
out like next year, or you don't know that yet either?
I actually like have no idea. I'm sure they'll release like bits over time,
Hmm.
as uh more information is released, but I don't know anything about that. That's totally not in my area. So I'll if when more is released, I'll totally like link it to my followers and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect. And then we can put it also in the show notes later on when, yeah, this will be out. Perfect. And we didn't talk actually about your tools and what you use actually for work. Do you work with Photoshop and like Cintiq or Intuos, or what are your go-to like favorite tools?
Favorite tools would be Photoshop
Mm-hmm.
and my Cintiq. I have a 22 HD Cintiq,
Yeah.
and I'm super used to it. I can't imagine working on anything else at this point. I used an Intuos for a long time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing wrong with that. Up until I was like 18. So only in the last like 2 years have I switched to Cintiq, but I wouldn't go back now. It's very comfortable for me. Yeah.
And when you travel, do you take like a sketchbook, or because the Cintiq 22 is not really portable?
No. I take a sketchbook definitely, and I also have an iPad
Mm-hmm.
with Procreate that is like a actually becoming a really cool little program. Like, you can
Yeah.
do a lot in Procreate. They, especially with the recent updates that have come out, like
Mm-hmm.
it's getting there. It's gonna be a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, nice, nice. Yeah, because I was also just talking about this in other interviews. Like, I want to get that one as well. So, because I work on the Cintiq, and I'm like, okay, the Procreate and iPad Pro sounds good, and everyone is just recommending it. So, I think that's something to try in the future for sure.
Yeah, totally.
And what about some future projects? Like, where would you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years? And what would be your dream scenario? What would you like to have going on? And just like, this is how it should be.
Oh, wow. I think I would like to have built up a lot of online resources,
Mm-hmm.
and have like a whole set of online resources for like students who are looking for art education. That is like one goal that I have, which I'm kind of slowly working towards, helping provide like affordable art education. And like, I guess career goal wise, I would love to do a book at some point.
Mm-hmm.
I think that that would be a lot of fun, especially since I do conventions so much, and books can be a really nice like accent piece for a table at conventions. So
Yeah.
that's one that I'm interested in. Um, I think that I really am enjoying working in TV, and at some point I would like to work in movies as well.
Mm-hmm.
So because I've done games, I'm doing TV now. It'd be cool to do movies, so then I have that kind of like all three of the kind of areas. So yeah, I guess those would be my major goals: work in movies, have a really robust online store, and do a book.
Ah, perfect. And do you already create some stories for yourself, like maybe for your characters or, like when you want to do the book, or the book will be more like an art book or something with a, background story and universe?
I'm thinking that it will it will probably be an art book with possibly instructional elements to it, some sort of an animal painting or animal drawing book. Because there aren't a ton of resources out there like in that range, and there are a lot of like how to draw animals books, which are really specifically like drawing animals, and then there are like books of paintings of animals, but there aren't that many like this is how you paint animals books, especially ones that are like modern, because I have a lot of techniques now. Like I go to the zoo a lot. I have camera equipment that I use to take reference, and I feel like that would kind of structure itself well into a book. So it's probably the area I would focus in.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. I would definitely get that. I like to draw animals as well. So that's really nice. And your paintings are amazing. So I'm always like, when I'm looking at it, I was like, wow. And what is the thing, what you learn about creating characters or animals, or if you have to give like one advice, like what is the most important when you're creating a character or an animal?
I think no matter what you're creating, I know this is taking away slightly from the topic, but I promise it comes back. So no matter what you're creating, if you're creating something, if you're trying to come up with a concept that you want people to connect with, the most important thing is observation. Observing the world around you. How do people carry themselves? How does this animal carry itself? What is your like emotion? What is the emotional impact of this thing that you want to design? And then trying to focus not on just drawing it literally, like what do you see in front of you, but incorporating how you feel about it, those little motions, the little actions, little gestures that make something feel real, and that your audience will connect to that really quickly.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea as well. Like also to learn how to observe, right? When you go out and everything is like so complex, and how to boil it down, and so it's the whole complex task,
absolutely.
Right? And so my last question actually would be about far future, and I would like to know, what would you like to be remembered for in like 100 years?
I think that I would love to be remembered as someone who helped make art education more accessible to more people, who kind of helped take it away from where it still is kind of lingering now as this establishment that is very hard to get into and hard to manage financially, into something that people who, everyone from people who are affluent to people who are living in poverty have an opportunity to participate in and be a part of.
Yeah, that would be beautiful. Yeah, because there are so many people, they just want to learn and it's just too expensive, or to go for convention and it's far away. And so that's a great message, and I loved it. And thank you so much for being here. It was so much fun.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
And maybe before we say goodbye, you can share a last advice or key takeaway, and then we will finish.
Sure. All right. Draw something every day, even if it's just a tiny doodle or a line on a page. Just keep like the energy flowing, and make sure that you never become afraid of your art, and that it's always something that you feel intuitively.
Yeah, amazing. And thank you so much again for being here, and thanks everyone for joining, and see you in the next episode.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and let me know in comments. Also, please subscribe to my channel for more videos, because I post new interview every single workday. You can also find the resources mentioned in this episode at artsideoflife.com. Just type a guest name in the search bar. There is also a little freebie waiting for you, so go check it out. If you want to listen to the interviews on the go, make sure to check out the podcast episodes at artsideoflife.com/podcast. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and don't forget to inspire each other. I will see you guys in the next episode.